Christopher Doherty worked for the U.S. Department of Education from 2004 to 2006 as a program director for Reading First. Prior to joining the department, Mr. Doherty served as executive director of the Baltimore Curriculum Project, a nonprofit organization that operates inner-city public charter schools.
Chairman Miller, Ranking Member McKeon, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to address you today about my role in the management and implementation of Reading First. I worked diligently for nearly 5 years to implement one of the largest educational initiatives ever undertaken by the federal government, and my sole motivation was to help the children of this country learn how to read. Reading First offers millions of our most disadvantaged children the benefit of effective early reading instruction. I took my responsibility toward these children seriously, and all my decisions were based on compliance with the law and maximizing Reading First's impact on children learning how to read. That these efforts were successful is evidenced by the performance of Reading First schools and in states' satisfaction with the implementation of the program, documented by multiple sources. Due to time constraints, I will not be able to discuss all of these sources here. However, I submitted a number of them with my written testimony. These facts notwithstanding, a distorted story has been written over the past few months based on the worst possible interpretation of events that occurred during the early days of Reading First. I am pleased to have the opportunity today to offer a different view of the program. The Reading First section of the No Child Left Behind law placed very clear requirements on the instructional materials that could be used. The statute details in numerous places that all instructional materials must be based on scientifically based reading research. This limitation was not added by the department. It is very prominent in the legislation crafted by this committee and authorized into law. The requirements of the law recognize that some instructional programs and materials are based on scientifically based reading research and some are not. The suggestion that has been put forth by some recently that it was inappropriate to question grantees about programs that did not appear to comply with the law is stunning. In fact, we were questioned by congressional committees in 2003 and again in 2004 about what the department was doing to ensure that Reading First funding was not going to programs that were not aligned with the research. We never directed which particular scientifically based instructional materials states or districts must use. The point was to comply with the law and maximize Reading First's impact on children learning to read. States did not have to identify programs in their applications. They had only to identify the criteria they would use to select programs. Clearly, states got this message. Only 3 state educational agencies specifically identified the core reading programs that their districts would use in their Reading First applications. I believe Reading First has worked well because we insisted on faithful implementation of the law. It is making a real difference for states, districts, schools, and most importantly, children throughout the country. Reading First is the only No Child Left Behind program to receive an effective rating from the Office of Management and Budget. Only 17% of federal programs reviewed across the government have received this highest rating. The data from Reading First schools, which have been painfully and surprisingly absent from this debate about the program's administration, speak for themselves. Based on the data available when I left the department and corroborated by new data released by the department yesterday, Reading First schools, which are by definition the most disadvantaged and lowest performing schools in their states and districts, have shown dramatic gains on reading outcome measures across all grades and across all disaggregated subgroups. To give just one example of increases in state-level data, Arizona announced that academic gains had skyrocketed, their word, in its Reading First schools, with students in all grades, K through 3, making dramatic gains that far outpaced comparison schools. Arizona has seen the achievement gap close, the entire purpose of this historic No Child Left Behind Act. 97% of white students, 96% of Hispanic students, and 95% of Native American students in its Reading First schools finished first grade at grade level. Reports from both the Government Accountability Office and the Center on Education Policy show the high level of satisfaction that states had with the department's implementation of Reading First. States have not been silent in their criticism of many other components of No Child Left Behind. However, they credit Reading First with improvements in student achievement and have consistently spoken highly of the department's management of Reading First. I am proud of what the program has achieved and of my role in its implementation. I respected the chain of command at the Department of Education, receiving directives which I never had reason to question, and keeping superiors informed about this high-profile, billion-dollar-a-year program, which was under scrutiny from its inception. Did I take my responsibility for rigorous implementation of Reading First seriously? I respectfully and proudly tell you that yes, I did. because I wanted to ensure compliance with this law and maximize Reading First's impact on children learning how to read. I sincerely thank you for your attention.